Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now to review the headlines from today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group, as well as This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Adifemi.
I haven't said that in a while. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're our superhero.
Yeah, well, hey, you tried.
Well done with all your reporting.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it is your first time.
I missed you guys.
Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Oji.
Good morning, KK.
Good morning.
I got it right.
Thank you.
So we go straight into it, and we'll start with This Day on Sunday. The lead story says, ahead of National Convention, APC begins screening of aspirants today. The riders, of course, list them. Adamu, Akume, 5 other chairmanship aspirants to be screened Monday. We will provide adequate security, logistics for convention, says Lalong. And on top of that is from the PDP, I believe, Atiku, Tambua, Ghana, others intensify moves against power shift to the south. Former VP obtains nomination form to formally declare Wednesday. The street on top of the masthead says federal government vows to sanction depot owners selling petrol above official price, which is a story that readers will find on page 5 of This Day. And on the window, CSO accuses desperate politicians of $1 million smear campaign plot against Buhari Emefiele. Northern Group rallies support for CBN governor's presidency. And last but not the least, a story on page 6 says gunmen raise Ohaneze Ndigbo president's home police station in Imo State. Those are the stories, KK, for your kind analysis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yes, please.
Exactly. When you're done, we'll go to
I take
This Day Style.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. That'll be okay. Yeah, we're in the political season, so it's not surprising that
the season.
if you check the the cover pages of virtually all the newspapers, they are political stories. And the story is that at last, there's the hope that APC will have its national convention. You know, what is the convention? If you strip it of all the elegance that is given to it, it's a meeting. It's a meeting. It's the largest meeting of the political party.
That's right.
So it's not it's not complimentary at all with the political party that it's taken almost 2 years to be able to organize this meeting. But as they say, maybe better late than never. That at last, of course, it is imperative now, given that INEC has released the timetable, you know, for the electoral season, that APC just has to organize, organize this meeting, you know, at last. And from what you could see, at least there is some progress that is clear now that the chairman of the party is likely going to come from the North Central Zone. You know. Okay, that in itself also suggests a certain level of organization. But if you, from the do a review of the news during last week, discover that the party may not yet be out of the woods. You know, given the deep reservations that the 19 governors have about the recent changes there. But what is important is that let us wish APC well that, as it's expected, that maybe in the next 1 week, you'll be able to be done with the organization of the party, I mean, of the convention. But like the other story on just below the masthead, says PDP too is almost as troubled, as APC, that is yet to settle the question of the zoning, of the presidential ticket, whether it should come from the south or from the north. Atiku and some other aspirants are insisting that they should be thrown open. Everybody should be free to contest. Whereas, some of the PDP governors, are insisting that the next president, the ticket, for the next president should come from the south. But we should always emphasize this, that in all this, contrary to what we see in other democratic lives, there are no issues. Yes, all we are hearing are, names of personalities about this election, but the big issues of the elections are not yet, crystallizing, And that in itself is unacceptable, because in the context of Nigeria in 2022, you don't need to invent these issues. These issues are there, What is important is that what you are talking about when you are jostling for power, when people seek power, you should come with agenda that what are the alternative solutions, for the problems that we have on hand. There are no debates about policy, about right now we are more or less facing, we are facing more or less an energy emergency in this country. Electricity, supply is, gradually to a halt. Fuel is not in adequate supply. Diesel, which is alternative, which has become alternative, for providing power, is the cost is just out of the reach. These are issues, of the economy. Insecurity, still remains, an issue. So you will expect that if we are going to have a presidential election in less than a year, that right now it's not just the names or the personalities that we should be hearing. We should be associating politicians with certain ideas. That in case if this person becomes the president, this is the kind of solution that Nigeria will adopt. Or if the opponent is the person who gets the ticket of his party and eventually is elected as president, this is the way we should go. We should have a direction, But discover that our own political landscape is just, laden, with, ethnic, regional, calculations, and not creative solutions about the problem. That in itself is a huge deficit, to the democratic process. That is why you end up electing president that it is after you must have taken oath of office that you now start talking of the agenda of the president. It shouldn't be like that. Right now we should be able to know the agenda of a presidential aspirant even before he becomes a candidate, much less when he's elected. But you discover that the underdevelopment and immaturity that characterize the political landscape, is such that, we are having just names of candidates, and then the whole debate is about whether it should be from the north or south, whether it should be a Muslim or a Christian. That beyond that, we should be able to know, is there somebody who can confront the question of the failed privatization that has taken place in the electricity sector? Should it be reversed? If it's not going to be reversed, what can be done, to change it? That that you have been grappling with the power sector reform now for 20 years, and all you have is darkness. Yes, this country started during Obasanjo's time to reform the power sector, and it's more than 20 years. We have not got the solution, in having, and you have problems, in virtually every sector. But these issues, these problems are not constituting the issues, on the agenda, The other story, which I think, should also interest us, it is the tragic thing that happened in Imo State yesterday. That's the bombing, bombings that took place, including the residence of Professor George Obiozo. I think it is quite outrageous,
You see the video? They burnt it.
Yes,
Basically, almost everything.
The professor is just lucky that he was not at home, and there are no people that perhaps we could have been talking of, something much more tragic. I think it is something that the security agencies, should rise to, and why we'll commiserate with Professor George Obeso. It does not deserve it, because since he became the president of our nation, his tune has been that of a peace.
Yes.
Also, that you can defend the interests of the Igbo people, without being violent. You can apply intellect, you can apply, diplomacy, you can apply, clear thought process, in solving the problem, but not by, inflicting violence.
Mr. Komolafe, I thought this story above the masthead was quite interesting. CSOs accuses desperate politicians of $1 million smear campaign plot against Buhari and Emefiele. This is the civil society organization Save Nigeria Project. They're alleging that desperate politicians have paid them $1 million. It's really quite worrisome.
Yeah,
who's afraid of Emefiele? Is that that's where it's leading us, isn't it?
Basically, it's Emefiele that is the target at this point.
Yes, but in the public realm, and I don't forget that the electoral process is governed by law. There's some of these things that we just, talk about
for
Dr. Hino,
granted.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if they are making a claim, I think it is something, that ought to be investigated because there are laws, against, that is the electoral process is not something that is done in a legal vacuum. Neither is it done in a moral vacuum. So it is the challenge is on those people making the allegation to actually, come to prove it that is not the way, things should be conducted. So I think, they should do more, in terms of actually providing the facts so that, lessons, could be learned, from it, because, like I said, what we should be talking about, it should be, the season we are in now should be a season of very robust, rigorous debates about problems that we should be talking of, about, alternative, solutions, not just a smear campaign. It should be the time of the debate of issues and not smear campaigns.
Right.
All right.
Do we have anything on?
We do. So on the cover of This Day Style, we have Zain Ejiofor Asha, who is a CNN anchor and also an author. She's written a book, a children's book, called Where the Children Take Us, and that's going to be out on the 26th of next month, I believe. Zain Asha was also on the morning show
she was on the morning
a few weeks ago and talked about her life and her profession over the years, her inspirations, and in this interview that she did, and her roots
to Nigeria.
Exactly. I think many people would have known. You might not know from her name that she is Nigerian, but many people did know. But to have her on Arise News and have her say in her own words, talk about her own heritage, how proud she is.
Zain
Explain
is
her
from
name.
Zainab, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes,
Who would have guessed that?
Nobody would have known.
Yeah, I think she said something about going
Growing up in the north,
process at one time, and that's why
yes,
she
exactly.
last name.
So there's a beautiful interview that she's had with Funke Bab Kufeji, and she talks about a lot of that stuff, the history behind her name, the choice of her calling herself Asha, her family life, her early years, her inspiration. So it's a wonderful interview. Wow. So big congratulations to the ladies over at This Day Style. They've been doing fantastic interviews. So, I read them.
Yeah. Well, the fun fact about her being the sister to Chinwe.
Yes, Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yes, that story.
You're right.
Yes, exactly.
Ejiofor name. Absolutely.
Lovely.
Should we do Daily
Yeah,
Trust
let's move
quickly
over to Daily Trust. And they have highlighted a special publication on Nigeria's tertiary education. Now, the lead story there, endless strikes. Why the federal government ASU failed to get it right. The writers there read, we should stop establishing more universities, says Professor Jubril. Why we'll never encourage tuition fees, says ASU. Increasing state varsities depend on TET fund for survival. Now, how Nigerian institutions can attract alternative funding. And they provided a breakdown there of universities in Nigeria. Now, the number of universities in Nigeria total is 205, federal universities 49, state universities at 57, private universities at 99. Now, they say states with more than one federal university is 11, states with more than one state university 14, federal states universities with more than one private university is 20. And then they also provided top 10 states and in the FCT as well. The top state for universities is Ogun State. Yes, with 16 universities.
In terms of the number of
in terms of the number of universities. Yes, Adefemi, well done.
What can I say?
And then, all right, I come after you, Delta. And then Lagos, Osun with Lagos with 11 universities, Osun 11 as well, Oyo 10, Kwara 9, Edo 8, Anambra 7, FCT 7, Imo 7. Now, 14 states own more than one university. 16 universities are located in Ogun State alone, right? That's the number of universities in each state. And then all private universities are located in 30 states and the FCT. Now, we'll move over to another story. There's a special report, declining glory of Igbo apprenticeship system that bred billionaire businessmen. I don't know if you guys obviously watched Professor Solude's inauguration, him arriving with that innocent car, the G-Wagon car. And then I was so proud to see that one.
What was the story behind that car? That it was built?
It was in Anambra State. The owner is innocent.
And that's what he will write throughout, and his entire cabinet members.
Absolutely.
No Chinese cars, no American cars, no Japanese cars.
He wants to patronize Anambra-made products. And when we will not leave this day without talking about the amount of days our school children are still held in captivity. The Bethel Baptist High School, Kajuma, 260 days and counting. Mr. Kumalafe, really sad situation. We need our children out. We need our children out.
Just one more minute so that KK can use that too.
Yeah, can you?
Okay, yes, of course. It's sad again.
Yes.
We're still counting 263 days. Going to call on the security agencies that it is not over until it is over, as they say. You know, that the responsibility of the state to these students is still enshrined in our constitution, you know, to get them out. And more importantly, that there is need to also be in touch with their parents, so that if the security people will not tell the public the efforts they are making, at least they should be able to intimate the parents, you know, about the efforts, you know, and support them psychologically and emotionally. The lead story of Daily Trust is a thing that are taking us a lot of time to really talk about. It's all about having a policy, you know, a review of policy on funding public education, especially at the tertiary level. Like I said before, this is perhaps one of the issues that ought to be, I mean, this should be one of the issues of this election. That anybody who wants to become Nigerian president should be able to come up with an agenda on how to solve this problem. So that we say that during my tenure, we will not have ASU strike. Because I have this formula about solving, you know, the funding, about the funding of, university education. But alas, you discover that it is not on the agenda. Nobody is talking about it, you know. All those who want to become Nigerian president is not focused, you know. So what the story has pointed out is that this country really needs to sit down and decide what it wants to do with public universities, you know.
All right,
in terms of funding.
All right, KK, thank you so much. We apologize that today is shorter than normal. It's because we have to cross over to another guest shortly. So thank you so much, KK.